Have you ever caught yourself thinking, I should be happy by now? Not because everything is perfect, but because, well, technically, nothing is wrong. There's no major crisis in your life, there's no obvious reason, life is moving, you're functioning, and you're showing up. In fact, it's like you're growing, you're evolving, you're changing like you normally are. But underneath all of that, there's still a feeling that something is missing. It's almost like you're living a life that's not meant for you. That somehow, despite everything you've tried, you still feel lost. And the most frustrating and exhausting part is that you can't even explain it because you don't understand why it's happening. Well, if that is you, then stay with me because I want to talk about what's actually going on. Firstly, I want to acknowledge something. If you're watching this video, you're most likely not someone who gives up easily. You're someone who actually tries, who invests, who genuinely wants to grow. And you've probably tried everything that you've heard of. And that makes this feeling even more annoying, even more frustrating, and even more confusing because logically, right, the logical conclusion should be that the more work I do, the better I feel, right? But it feels like that's actually not what's happening. And it hasn't been feeling right for a while. Maybe you've been noticing that you're going through cycles. So you're going through a breakthrough, a great period, a real momentum. You're really getting it. Life is really in flow. You're loving it. And then somehow you find yourself back in the same place, the same feelings, just different circumstances. You might have changed jobs, you might have changed relationships, you might have even changed cities, but that something is still following you. There's something that's internal that you can't seem to shake off no matter what you do externally. If you are there, I just want to tell you really clearly that it is not a sign that you're broken. It is not a sign that you are beyond help and there's something wrong with you, or that's just the way you are, or you missed your window. It's actually a sign that you have been incredibly resourceful and incredibly committed. But the thing is, the thing that you've been trying to fix, that thing isn't the real problem. So let's actually talk about what you've probably tried, because I think most of the tools and approaches out there are genuinely useful, and I think they really serve a purpose. The mindset work, the journaling, coaching, meditation, nervous system work, all of it has value, and all of everything that you've done has gotten you to this particular point. But what I've noticed, and this is what I really want you to sit with, is that most of these approaches don't get to that deeper layer of what's actually happening. So the things are shifting outside and your things are temporarily changing and you're feeling better, you're having a bit more clarity and you're making progress. But when life puts pressure on you, let's say like it's a relationship trigger, or work gets hard, or something happens in your life and suddenly you're straight back to where you were before, as if you've never done the work. It's weird, I know. And then you're thinking, why is that still here? I worked on this. We're done. I thought I closed it like last week or last month, last year even. But here's why, because none of those approaches are changing the deep fundamental from all the way to the roots. So think about it like this, like the personal development work that you've been doing, it's like you've been redecorating your house. You changed your furniture, you've repainted the walls, and you've renovated the kitchen, so it looks completely different. But fundamentally, the foundations, the actual structure of the house, it hasn't changed because no one actually told you to look there. So if the foundations are not solid, or if they were built on something, the wrong materials, let's say, then it doesn't matter how beautiful the renovations are, something is going to still crack and something is going to still feel off. Are you ready for the deeper layer? Yeah? Okay, let's go. The layer that most personal development don't reach deep down is your identity. It's not about your personality, it's not about your habits, it's your identity. Who you fundamentally believe yourself to be at the deepest level. And here's the thing about identity. Your identity wasn't born with you. It was actually constructed piece by piece from a very early age. So every message you received about who you need to be in order to be loved, to be accepted, to be safe, to be enough, all of those things got woven into that created this current version of you right now. And that made sense at the time when you were young. So maybe you became the high achiever, the reliable one, the one that holds everything together, the one who doesn't need much attention, the one who performs. Those identities served you really well because you got love, you got approval, it was safe for you from your teachers, your parents, your peers, your friends. But the problem is that identity was built in a version of the world that doesn't exist anymore. It was built in a younger version of you that was doing the best she could with what she had. Maybe you were 2, maybe you were 5, you were 7, you were 12, you were 15. And you've been carrying all of those identities ever since. And you've been building your adult life on top of all of that, doing all your personal development, learning and education and all that work on top of that. So it's like you're trying to squeeze yourself into a school uniform that you had when you were a kid. Even though you don't need it anymore. Even though you're so much more capable of buying new clothes and styling yourself. But someone said to you, oh, you've got to wear that school uniform. So you're like, oh, okay, I need to try and squeeze into the school uniform no matter what. And you know, we all have multiple identities. Daughter, sister, partner, mother, colleague, boss, all of those basic surface level ones, but we also have deeper ones. Shy, bossy, hardworking, resilient, reliable, whatever you want to call yourself or whatever someone called you and you adapted that identity. All of those identities keep you fixed exactly in the same place constantly. And that's the reason why you still feel lost after everything you tried. Because you've been trying to find yourself within that identity or those identities that you've completely outgrown and tried to make yourself and your life still fit in to that mold and that square. Can you imagine how limiting that is? Because you know what? You can't find yourself in that box that was created by a younger version of you or by someone else who told you you need to fit into that box. So now you know how your identity has been holding you back. I want to be clear about what this means because this is not like a fixing conversation. It's not me saying you're broken, you've been doing something wrong, you've been wasting your time. No, none of that. Because every time you've done something to get you to this level of understanding right now, to this video right now, it all matters and it all counts. But the difference in the invitation now to you is not about working harder or going deeper in those same approaches. It's about asking you a completely different question. So the question that we're shifting from is not what we What do I need to do to fix myself? We're moving away from that. The question is, who am I underneath all of this? Who is the real me that exists beneath all of these identity labels? And what labels do I actually want to keep? And what labels do I want to shed? So I can take the labels that serve me and move forward in life with those. Because here's what I know to be true. Underneath all of that constructed identity, beneath all of those layers, is who you were meant to be. The real you. The real you who's been there all this time. The one that's been like nudging you towards this particular moment, this video. And that feeling of being lost is just a sign that's saying, hey, that's not where we want to be. We want to be somewhere else, right? That's not the real us. Let's move on. Let's let go of that old version that's so small and it's not big enough for who you actually are. Let's move towards this expanded version of you, of who you truly are. So remember, that lost feeling is just a signal. It's not a problem. When you finally start to understand that, when you start to really excavate who you really are underneath those sticky labels, those post-it notes that have been stuck to your current identity, that's when the work that you've already done starts to really land differently. And that's when things are going to start shifting for you in the way that actually works. If this resonated, if you're watching this and thinking that is exactly what I've been feeling but I couldn't name, drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to understand the full framework behind what I've been talking about today, make sure you grab the My Freedom Equation PDF. So if you want that, just comment freedom in the comments below and I'll drop you the link. If you found this valuable, make sure you hit subscribe and share it with a woman in your life who needs to hear this. Thank you for listening and I'll see you again for next week. Bye for now.